I, 33, female, was diagnosed with a melanoma skin cancer about 3 weeks ago. It came as a huge shock to me because I've always taken great care of myself and my skin. But I guess sometimes you can't control what happens to you. It was even worse for me to find out because by the time it was even detected, I was already in stage 3. So it was advanced stage melanoma, and we had to take quick action in order to prevent any further damage. I was already pretty upset about all this, but then what my mother-in-law did ruined everything for me even more. My mother-in-law, let's call her Kate, has never liked me much. But for the sake of my husband, she's put up with me, and the same goes for my sister-in-law as well. Let's call her Hannah. And the one thing that they have always been very jealous of is my hair, because I have long, beautiful hair thanks to my genes. My mom's an Indian Punjabi, so we generally have beautiful hair, and also because I follow Sikhism like my mom. I've never cut my hair, and that's another problem that they have with me. They don't like the fact that I'm half white and my mom's from an immigrant family. They also don't like the fact that I follow a different religion as opposed to Christianity, like the rest of their family. But it's not like I don't respect it. My husband and I celebrate each other's festivals and respect each other's beliefs, just like my mom and dad did. But anyway, that's beside the point right now. So as I was saying, they've always been a bit jealous of me since my hair is really long and beautiful. And I'm very proud of it because ever since I was a child, I put in a lot of effort into keeping it that way. It's one of the things that people always compliment me about, and it's part of my beauty. I can understand why they would be jealous, but it's not like they're ugly. Both Kate and Hannah are stereotypical American beauties. Both of them are blonde and beautiful, and I've never understood why they've been jealous of me. There have been very strange comments about my hair, snide jokes about it, for no reason, but I've always ignored it. I know that they're just insecure, so I've never read too much into it. But I never expected Kate to do something so crazy. Basically, 2 days after we found out, we decided to invite our families over and tell them about the diagnosis. Everyone was really sympathetic, including Kate and Hannah, and I thought that was kind of nice of them, but that didn't last long. The day that we told our families was a Friday, and the very next day, my husband had to go out on a weekend business retreat. At this point in time, because I would have to cut down on my work, he planned on taking up more work because unfortunately there were going to be a lot of out-of-pocket expenses since my healthcare didn't cover a lot of treatments that I was being asked to consider. So we needed the money. We mentioned that in passing, and that evening, Kate announced that she would be spending the weekend with me. I was kind of skeptical about it, even though she was being very nice, but I knew how things had been with us in the past. So I didn't fully trust her, but she acknowledged that she hadn't been the nicest person to me in the past. But since she herself had dealt with her mother, who had passed away from cancer, she felt obligated to be there with me, and she thought that it would be good for both of us. It was really sweet of her, so I decided to take her up on that offer, and she spent the night and intended to spend the weekend with me too, until my husband came back home. Until then, everything was fine, but when I woke up the next morning and saw myself in the mirror, I noticed that my hair was suddenly significantly shorter, and it had definitely been quite badly chopped off. I could see that in the ends of my hair. Instead of coming up to my shins, it only came up to my waist, and that was a major concern because, like I said, in my religion, it's frowned upon to get your hair chopped off, and I take that very seriously. I wanted to speak to my husband about it, but by then he had already left. So while panicking, I went out to the living room, and then I suddenly remembered that Kate had spent the night here. And then everything fell into place when I saw her sitting on my couch, watching the news as if nothing had even happened. But I knew that it had been her. Suddenly, it made sense why she was being so nice to me and insisted on spending the night and the weekend with me. In all probability, she had already planned this out and had just been waiting for an opportunity to go through with it after my husband had left. I felt like a total fool as well because I had literally set this up. I had been struggling to go to sleep, so the previous night I had accepted some sleeping pills from her because I really wanted to get some rest since I had been having a hard time for the past couple of days, ever since the diagnosis. Like a fool, I hadn't suspected anything, and most probably she slipped me a higher dose than what was required. Because later on, when I spoke to my husband, he told me that he tried to wake me to say goodbye when he was leaving that morning. But I was in such deep sleep that he didn't disturb me much because he knew that I needed sleep. I wish I had woken up. Maybe I would have been able to prevent this, but anyway. Coming to what happened after I realized what she had done. After I had seen that my hair had been cut short and I spotted her sitting outside, I confronted her about it immediately. I thought she was probably going to deny it or something, and I was mentally prepared to argue with her. But instead, she just told me that that's exactly what she had done. And she was very casual about the whole thing as well. She told me that she knew I had always loved my hair, but since my diagnosis, she knew for a fact that I was going to lose it eventually, which, I have to say, is not true, because the kind of treatment that I was opting for had nothing to do with my hair. If I had been going for chemotherapy, then maybe I would have started losing my hair. But that's not what I was going for, so there was little to no risk of me losing my hair. Whatever she had done, it was completely pointless, and instead of accepting it and apologizing for it, she started telling me that she was only doing it for my good. She claimed she had been trying to do it to make the transition easier for me, as she was only trying to help, but she couldn't understand why I was being so hysterical and upset about it. Obviously, I didn't react well. I was already having a very tough time, given the diagnosis and everything, and that was just the last straw. I asked her to leave me alone and I kicked her out of the house, and then I obviously called my husband. And I told him everything. He offered to fly back home immediately, but I told him to stay put because I could handle this on my own, and I just wanted to speak to him. He calmed me down, he comforted me, and after speaking to him, I finally felt a bit better. But I didn't see what was about to come because after I spoke to him in the evening, I started receiving a bunch of phone calls and messages from Hannah and Kate, accusing me of ruining their plans, calling me selfish and calling me jealous and insecure and whatnot. And I had no idea what was actually going on because if anything, I was the one who was the victim here. I had no clue what they were on about, and I was ignoring them, so after a while I decided to call my husband to find out what was happening. After a while, when he finally picked up, I understood what exactly had happened after my phone call to him, and boy, did karma get them really bad. So apparently after my phone call to my husband, he decided to call his father to inform him about all this. And my father-in-law is a no-nonsense kind of guy. He's one of the most stand-up people I know. And as soon as my husband told me that he had told his father, I knew that it wasn't going to end well for Hannah and Kate. And it didn't, because apparently after Kate had been kicked out by me and returned to her own house, she was acting as if nothing had happened. But then, after my husband told my father-in-law everything, he decided to confront his wife. At first, Kate denied that she had had any negative intentions and said that she was only trying to help. But under pressure, she buckled, and eventually she accepted the fact that she had given me a higher dosage of sleeping pills than what was required, so that I wouldn't wake up until late. And in the meantime, she would get the opportunity to cut my hair. And exactly why did she do all that? Well, the answer was simple, and I guess I should have seen it coming. Hannah got engaged a month ago, and everyone was very happy for her. Regardless of whether she likes me or not, she was going to have to invite me to the wedding. just to put up a show that our family gets along well, and I knew that. Even you know that. And apparently, Kate told her husband that the reason she cut off my hair was because she already thought that I was an attention seeker and I got enough compliments for my hair. And now, after my diagnosis, I was going to get sympathy as well because of it. She couldn't take it. And she decided to cut off my hair because she assumed that autoimmune therapy was going to affect my hair anyway. She said she didn't actually know the truth, but I don't buy it. Anyway, that's what she's been claiming. But at least one thing has been established, that she cut off my hair on purpose, and she did it for her daughter so I wouldn't be able to steal her thunder. I mean, I simply cannot imagine somebody being so insecure and petty that they decide to do this to somebody who's been diagnosed with cancer just because they think that they won't get all the attention at their own wedding. Like, how does that even make sense? At my wedding, I'm sure that there were people who thought that I wasn't looking as beautiful as maybe Kate or Hannah, considering the fact that they were even more dressed up and made up than I was. But I didn't care about that. I was happy about the fact that I was getting married to the man of my dreams, and that's all that matters. Yes, of course, I didn't like the fact that they were trying so hard to look better than me, but at the end of the day, that's not what the wedding was about. And I knew that whoever actually wished me well, they would only care about me and wouldn't give a crap about the other two. I was that secure about myself. Why can't they be that way? Anyway, what's done is done, and I think they should be taking accountability for it, instead of trying to blame me, because now, after hearing everything, my father-in-law has decided that he's not going to fund the wedding. And instead, he's going to use that money to cover the cost of my out-of-pocket medical expenses, whatever my insurance doesn't cover. So that's obviously been a huge blow to Kate and Hannah's ego, and they're blaming me for it. It's already started. I'm already using the funds for my expenses, and they are very unhappy about it right now. In the past 2 weeks, ever since the incident took place, I blocked them and I don't have anything to do with them, and out of solidarity with me, my husband's also avoiding them. My father-in-law has apologized to me, and I'm very grateful to him for everything that he's doing, because it's not like he needed to do it. But even then, just out of the kindness of his own heart, he's being so good to us. I know for a fact that he's compensating for whatever his wife and daughter put me through, but it looks like he's the only one who cares, because Hannah and Kate have been doubling down on the statements. Just yesterday, in the evening, I received a message from them, from another number, saying that apparently Hannah and her fiance had decided to call off the wedding for now, because they don't have enough savings to have the kind of wedding that they were planning on. So until they're able to find that kind of money, they're going to have to delay it. I don't understand how that's my fault. This is their own doing, but even then, I know that they sent me that message to make me feel guilty. And unfortunately, I do feel kind of bad, because I know that Hannah and her fiance have been together for quite a while, and they really do love each other. I know what kind of a person Hannah is. I know that she's always wanted a very dreamy, big wedding, so I can't help it. I do feel kind of bad for her. And the thing is, with a little bit of hard work, my husband and I can totally afford to support ourselves and pay the expenses of my medical procedures. It's not like I absolutely have to take money from my father-in-law, but it's definitely helpful. And now I've started to think that maybe I'm the bad guy for accepting it. Maybe I should have just let it go, since I knew that this was going to affect Hannah's plans. So what do you guys think? AITA for accepting money from father-in-law, knowing that it would ruin my sister-in-law's plans of marriage? Update 1. Hey, thank you everyone for all the supportive messages. So it's been a week since my last update, and I've spoken to my husband and I've spoken to my parents as well. And they all told me that I don't need to feel guilty about any of this. After all, if my father-in-law has decided to help me out and has decided to withdraw his support from Hannah's wedding, then that is hardly my problem. Besides, what Kate did to me was just not acceptable because it was not just my hair that she cut off. But she made a joke out of all my beliefs as well. Everyone who knows me is aware of the fact that my hair is very important to me, and so is my religion, and if she can't respect that, then I think I don't have to respect her feelings either. So now I'm allowing my father-in-law to help me out, guilt-free. I've been a bit tired. It's been exhausting to deal with all this drama, along with my own stuff, but I'm very glad that I have my husband by my side, along with my parents and my friends. By now, I think everybody in my circle knows what I'm going through, and everyone has been very supportive of me. It's been an emotional roller coaster for me the past couple of weeks, but I'm getting used to it now. I've been working from home as well, whenever it's possible for me, but I'm choosing not to tire myself out too much because I know I have to take better care of myself now. Kate and Hannah have remained blocked, but that doesn't mean that they have taken the hint and chosen to But that doesn't mean that they've taken the hint and chosen to leave me be, because of course that would be the natural thing to do. No, they have to go out of their way to create drama, and that's exactly what they have been doing. But unfortunately for them, I'm not going to respond. I'm not in the state of mind to be wasting my time with all this. So I've just been ignoring all the messages that they have been sending me, from fake accounts on social media and from different numbers on my phone. They've even tried to call me from other phone numbers so I wouldn't be able to recognize them. But I just don't accept any calls from members that I don't recognize. So that's a problem that's easily solved. I'm considering changing my number as well, that they won't be able to bother me at all. And so far, it's just my husband and my father-in-law who know what Kate tried to do. And I intend on keeping it that way because I know I could create a lot of trouble for them if I told the rest of my husband's family about it. And trust me, I have every opportunity to do so. But I'm not going to do it because I'm just not interested in creating even more trouble. However, if they get on my nerves too much, then I won't have to think twice before exposing them. Update 2. Hey, so today, Hannah's fiance paid me a visit. It was totally unexpected because ever since my diagnosis, he hasn't even spoken to me. He was there that day, but because we are not very close, thanks to Hannah, we haven't had anything to do with each other, and honestly, I had totally forgotten about him. But earlier today, he turned up at my house, out of the blue, and I was caught off guard, so I didn't know how to react to it. Given my equation with Hannah right now, I was very confused. So I just kind of froze in place, but then he was actually very nice and polite, and he asked me if he could talk to me for a bit because he had something to discuss with me. Then, because it didn't seem like he was here to pick a fight with me, I decided to let him come in so that we could talk. Once we were comfortable and all the small talk had been done with, he got to the point and started telling me that he had been thinking about visiting me for a while because apparently Kate and Hannah have been miserable about the decision that my father-in-law has made regarding the funds for the wedding. And even though he's completely fine with having a small, intimate wedding that they can afford on their own, he knows that that's not what Hannah wants. And neither is that what Kate wants. And he doesn't want to make them both upset, so he's been trying his best to put money together. Unfortunately, he doesn't think that it's worth it to borrow money for something like this. So he and Hannah have been fighting for a bit over it. And after thinking about it for a while, he thought that it would be in his best interests to try and talk to me so that we could come to a solution about what to do because he doesn't want to make Hannah miserable. And he knows that I can help him out if I want to. For a while, I really had no idea how I was going to help him. And I guess he could see the confusion on my face because he started telling me that I got to talk to my father-in-law and I could convince him to fund the wedding, but just give them a smaller amount than what he had initially planned. Then he said something very weird. He said that he could understand that it was a difficult position for me to be in, given my diagnosis, but at the end of the day, Hannah deserves to be happy as well, and it wasn't really fair of me to demand that my father-in-law use her wedding fund for my medical expenses. He was still very polite while saying that, but I could sense that he was holding back some resentment towards me. It took me a while to process it, and when I finally did, I had to tell him that it was not me who had demanded anything of the sort, and it was actually my father-in-law who had offered to cover the medical expenses himself. I hadn't forced him or talked to him into it, so I didn't know what he was referring to. Of course, by then I had started doing the mental math, and I knew for a fact that he must have been told a different version of things as opposed to the truth, because, of course, why would Kate and Hannah tell him anything that would make them look bad? And I was right. Because when I said that, he started looking very confused, and he told me that he was pretty sure that Kate and Hannah had told him I was the one who had demanded and literally forced my father-in-law into using the wedding fund for my medical expenses because I didn't want to spend more money than what was required for the out-of-pocket expenses. So then I decided to tell him whatever had happened that had led to a situation like this because I felt like he would do better knowing the truth. When I was finally done talking about all that had happened, the hair and Kate's actions and their insecurity and jealousy, he seemed to be baffled by everything that had happened. I could tell he didn't know any of this, and he didn't even know what to say to me for a while. He just went silent. Then, a couple of minutes later, he told me that he genuinely had no clue and said that he had been told a very different version of things, so clearly he had some thinking to do. And he knew that I wasn't lying because even he knows that I take my beliefs very seriously. And he could see for himself that my hair was shorter than it used to be. So the proof of me telling him the truth was right there in front of his eyes, and there was no way that he could question it. Anyway, in the end, he seemed to realize that he had been lied to and manipulated. And so he decided to apologize to me for wasting my time, and I felt really bad for him. So I told him I wished him the best, and then he left. Later on, when my husband came back home from work, I informed him of the visit and told him what Kate and Hannah had been trying to do, how they had been trying to manipulate Hannah's fiance against me. And he had been backed into a corner so badly that he had actually had to come over here to talk to me and sort things out. We genuinely felt bad for the poor guy. He's not involved in any of this, and yet he had to go through it. I can't imagine how he's going to sort things out with Hannah now, or if he'll even bother doing that. I don't know what's going to happen, but I know it's not going to be good for Hannah. Update 3. Hey, it's been a couple of days since my last update and since the visit from Hannah's fiancé. And just as I had expected, things did not end up too well for her. After speaking to me, I'm assuming that they had some sort of confrontation. And I don't know what exactly this spoke about, because it's not like Hannah's going to share that kind of information with me. But I know for a fact that the two of them have decided to take a break. It's very sad because they've been together for quite some time, so I cannot imagine how hurt she must be feeling. But instead of introspecting and trying to be a better person, she has decided to take out all her anger on me. She went off on social media about me, and even though she didn't mention my name, it was pretty apparent that she was referring to me. She called me an attention seeker. She called me jealous, she called me insecure, and she said that I had ruined her relationship. And obviously Kate backed her up on all of that by commenting on it, as if her life depended on it. A lot of people had a bunch of questions. And at that point in time, I decided that it was time to share my side of things because I was not going to let them get away with defaming me like this when it was their own fault. So, after a short discussion with my husband and my father-in-law, I decided to go all out. And I did not hold back at all while making my own post. I shared the truth, and that finally explained a lot of things to the rest of the family. And now nobody wants to speak to Hannah or Kate. And again, they're blaming me for it. I've been in touch with my father-in-law, and he's been telling me and my husband how difficult it's been to stay at home with Kate because she's furious that he's siding with me on this. I feel bad for him because I know that it's difficult for him. But at the end of the day, I know they might be able to make it work in spite of all their differences. So I'm not too worried about them, but I don't know about Hannah and her fiance. As far as I know, my father-in-law has told us that they had a huge fight. And Hannah decided to move back in with them for a while. And right now, the environment in my father-in-law's house is pretty hostile. But only for him, because Kate and Hannah are perfectly fine with each other. He thinks it'll blow over though, and I really hope that it does, because he's a nice person. He doesn't deserve to be treated like this and just because he chose to stand up for what was right. Anyway, it doesn't matter anymore because I know that the rest of the family is against Kate and Hannah. So if they know what's good for them, they will apologize. And even if they don't apologize, at least they'll have a good sense of not coming at me and attacking me for no reason once again. I think after everything that's happened so far, they'll be really foolish not to take a lesson from the situation. But then again, there's no telling how they might react, so I don't really know. Update 4. Hi everybody, so it's been more than a year plus a couple of months since my last update, and I've been really busy. Because with treatments and everything, I've had a lot on my plate. Thankfully, the drama with Kate and Hannah is all over now. We just don't talk anymore, neither does my husband speak to them. The rest of his family remembers everything that happened, so they are kind of cold towards him as well, but they still get invited to stuff. They never apologize, and neither do I expect or want one from them at this point. I'm done. I think we're better off not talking to each other, and we don't even acknowledge each other's existence anymore when we run into each other at family events. Anyway, the reason I'm posting this update right now is that 3 months ago I was finally declared cancer-free. It's been pretty great, and I can finally go back to working on my business full time. Thankfully, my partner had handled it pretty well, and I had also been doing my best to keep up. So it's going okay, and my husband and I have also decided to try for a baby. But because my body is too weak right now, I've decided to opt for adoption. Things are going okay for now, and I'm thrilled to have the opportunity to be happy and healthy once again. And even my hair is back to the same length. So I guess everything is better once again. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.